Hello, my fellow Toastmasters and guest members. Welcome to Downtown Speakeasy Club. My name is Anusha Hare and I'll be leading today's meeting. We have one guest member. Would you mind standing up and introduce yourself and tell us how did you find about this club?
Hi, how's it going? My name is Vincent, and yeah, I found you guys actually on Meetup. I got referred to the app and your guys' group by a colleague in the area, and yes.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Today is going to be a very serious matter. It was Mother's Day on Sunday. I hope everybody celebrated it. It's funny and at the same time really meaningful that we have some days dedicated to our beloved ones. It gives us an extra chance to show our love, compassion towards the people we love. But there is one more mother that we really need to take care, and that's Mother Earth. Last month, April 22nd, was Earth Day. The reason why I'm bringing this up today here is we always take time to look after your family, our children, our future. But the real reason for our own existence is this planet. The minerals, the soil, the plants, whoever has made our life beautiful and fruitful. We are turning a deaf ear towards it. Probably I am probably total body. We are totally ignoring the planet. And we are depleting the resources, we are poking holes, we are killing numerous species on this planet. We have polluted this planet to the highest atrocity, and she is in the bad health. I would like to share one of the characters from the Infinity Wars. Has anybody watched Avengers Infinity Wars? Really, no one? Are you guys kidding?
Say it again.
Infinity Wars, Avengers.
The Avengers.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
So it's about the main protagonist. His name is Thanos. He's a general on the planet called Titan. And his planet is on the brink of survival because of the depleting resources. So he comes up with a solution to kill half the population of the planet. It's definitely a heinous act. But the way we humans are progressing, we have already killed numerous plants, species, and sea creatures. So, throughout the meeting, I would like to share some of the news that are going around and how we can solve these problems by contributing a little bit. So before moving on, I would like to start with a tweet style response. What is a tweet style response? Is I ask a question and we go around the table and everybody expresses their opinion in 2 or 3 sentences. And the question is, how did you celebrate Mother's Day, which is not related to topic today, or what are the suggestions or the steps that you would like to take in order to protect the planet? Let's start with Linda.
I always like to celebrate Mother's Day by planting. So I usually go to the nursery, the plant nursery with my mother. We do it together. She didn't feel like going this year, so I bought her plants for her, and I asked for a set of shears, a better set of shears for my garden. And I got that from my husband as my gift. So I planted flowers and plants.
That's actually a good way to celebrate.
Can you repeat the question again?
Yeah.
That was very nice.
It's how did you celebrate Mother's Day? Or what are the steps that you would like to take or in order to protect the planet?
So the twofold. Hi, I'm Lauren Wilson, president of the club. I celebrated Mother's Day by spending time with my family. And one thing I'm excited about is in my regular job, I get to help save the planet by starting to reduce carbon emissions in the electric sector. You can more about that.
Back on the VP of membership, had a great brunch with my mother-in-law on Mother's Day, and I guess the only thing that I can know that I definitely try to do to save the planet is we recycle and compost. Probably not a lot, but it feels like a lot to me.
I'm Lisa McIntyre. I celebrated Mother's Day really in a unique way this year. My stepfather passed away about a month ago, so my mother flew into town. We had brunch at my sister's house. My new boyfriend came, my son came, my nephew came, and my new grandniece was there. So we had all these generations, and it was absolutely lovely. What I'm doing to help the planet is straws. I'm watching my use of straws.
Hi, my name's Vincent. This Mother's Day was a bit different. This was the first one I did not get to celebrate with my mother. I just recently moved here to Colorado from Chicago. So yeah, that was that really was not fun. I had to let her know I missed her through the phone, which is never as good. But so yeah, there's that. And then steps I'm taking to the planet. I am going to school for sustainable design. So building energy efficient buildings, that type of stuff through passive design and also energy efficient type systems. So,
Hi, my name is Lindsay Mark, and unfortunately I didn't get to spend Mother's Day with my mother either, but I was in Austin for a friend's wedding. It was so much fun. It was my entire college crew together, and it was on Sunday night, so we couldn't spend it with our parents, but our mothers. It was still a great time.
My name is Chris Breidenbach. I'll focus on the second part of the question. Several years ago, I realized that one of the things that I cared most about was the planet, specifically biodiversity, and a few other issues surrounding that. And I realized that in my professional life, I was doing absolutely nothing about it. And so I decided I didn't know what to do. So in my personal life, I started organizing a river cleanup in Golden every year on Earth Day. So this year was the second annual Clear Creek cleanup in Golden. And basically, I just get a group of people together, we pick up trash in and around the river, and then we go grab a couple beers at a brewery. I don't think that's going to save the planet anytime soon, but it made me feel better than doing nothing.
That's a good way to celebrate, at least. Let's move on to the role introduction. So we do not have Kevin today. He's going to take care of the joke.
I'll do it. I've got a quote if you want me to.
Let's welcome this up as a joke.
I happened to do this because I thought I was the joke inspiration, but I'm grammarian, so I'll do both. I'll also be a clicker
Oh, click
because it's sitting right in front of me.
me.
John Muir of Muir Woods, Sierra Club. Both of these quotes will be from him. The sun shines not on us, but in us. The rivers flow not past, but through us. Thrilling, tingling, vibrating every fiber and cell of the substance of our bodies, making them glide and sing. The trees wave and the flowers bloom in our bodies as well as our souls. And every bird song, wind song, and tremendous storm song of the rocks and in the hearts of the mountains is our song, our very own, and sings our love.
Thank you. What happened to the people today?
I don't know.
So we do not have
Oh,
much.
I
think
don't
we
know.
should just stay up there. All three.
Very good.
Okay, I will do that. Coming back. Coming back.
Just stage awaits you.
My job today is also the clicker, so clicker. Apparently so's are something that we lean on as a filler word. I'll pay attention to those. I will also pay attention to other filler words and uses of the English language, which rolls right into my job as the grammarian today. The word of the day is wildness. I got that from a quote in John Muir's stuff as well. It is a noun, the character of being uncultivated, undomesticated, or inhospitable. One of John's, sorry, too many things in my hands. One of John's quotes is, thousands of tired, nerve-shaken, over-civilized people are beginning to find out that going to the mountains is going home. That wildness is a necessity. I will track your use of that today. Use wildness. Thank you.
is going to take care of Mark's role. Oh, so you are the accountant as well.
I am.
Okay.
Lisa.
Okay. And Pat, you are the timer today.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Pat, would you mind to introduce you about your role?
Yeah, so I'll be fulfilling the role of timer today, using this fancy electronic timekeeping device, keeping up with the prepared speeches 4 to 6.
Maybe 5 to 7.
5 to 7. Linda?
5 to 7.
5 to 7. So 5, we'll get green. 6, we'll get yellow. 7, we'll get red. 36 to wrap up. Also, doing table topics, 1 to 2 minutes. Evaluations, 2 to 3 minutes. Same light controls, and give you a report at the end of the meeting after counting votes.
Thank you, guys. I'm totally forgetting this. Do you guys know that we have a lawyer in this room? Hmm?
No, a what?
No, a lawyer.
A lawyer.
Yep.
I don't know.
So I really appreciate Chris for like his critiques, and I was blushing when I got my first gave my first icebreaker, and he evaluated it. So let's welcome Chris for his role today. Can you please introduce about your role? Thank you.
Well, thank you. Again, my name's Chris, and I'm going to be the general evaluator today. And that role, I'm going to evaluate the meeting as a whole, which Anoop got us off to a great start. And I'll give a report at the end of the meeting. And when I do, I'll focus on the evaluators. I really want to give feedback to those who are giving feedback to the people who are making speeches, so that we just have a feedback loop. So that's going to be my goal today, and you'll hear from me at the end. Yes.
Now we will move towards our speeches, and for the first speech, okay. So Nikki is going to introduce our first speaker of the day. Let's welcome Nikki.
All right, it is my pleasure today to introduce Linda. How do you pronounce your last name?
Ladov.
Linda Ladov. She is a communication consultant who works primarily with nonprofits, foundations, and government entities, and has been doing this for 26 years. Her goal, or why she joined Toastmasters late August, was to help her prepare for a series of 5 workshops on communication throughout the year. While a professional communicator, she's more comfortable behind the scenes than in the spotlight, and is working on coming out of her introverted shell. So today she is going to be giving her 3rd speech out of the Competent Communicator book, titled How to Say It. No, that is not correct. My brain is so smart. Sorry about that. The project name is How to Say It. And it is all about choosing the right words and how to effectively communicate and choose rhetorical devices to enhance and emphasize her ideas throughout. The other objectives of the book are to eliminate jargon and unnecessary words and to use correct grammar. Her personal goals are to practice storytelling, use vocal variety, and use hand gestures and eye contact. So put your hands together as we welcome Linda to talk about, let's see what kind of wildness we can bring out of Linda.
I don't want to redo my evaluation.
Some of you may have ridden on a ride like this at the amusement park. It's the one where you stand up straight and the ride spins and spins, and then it tilts to one side and tilts to the other side, and then you get off and you feel like throwing up, right? Now you understand how I felt for 6 months of my life. I'm going to tell you today about an experience I had being chronically dizzy and off balance for 6 months straight, and my journey to try to figure out what was wrong with me, and how I retrained my brain to stop the dizziness, because my brain is so smart. It was January 2009, and I woke up one day feeling so dizzy that I was knocking into the walls as I walked down my hallways. It was miserable. I sat it out for a couple days, and I finally went to the doctor to find out what was going on with me. He said there are little tiny crystals in your inner ear canal that sometimes get dislodged, and you can knock them back into place by doing some exercises like moving your head at 45-degree angles a few times a day, and this problem should resolve itself fairly quickly. After about a week, this problem was not going away. I decided it was time to call in a specialist, so I made an appointment with the ear, nose, and throat doctor, but it took 3 months to get an appointment. And I thought, I don't know how I'm going to do this for another 3 months. That's a long time to wait. My head felt disconnected from my body, and I felt like I had cotton balls swirling around in my head. When I tried to walk, my vision was literally doing this. By mid-afternoon, I was so exhausted, all I wanted to do was close my eyes and crawl into a hole. You guys all have these serious looks on your faces. It ends well, believe me. But I was so exhausted, I just wanted to sleep all the time. It was miserable, and I decided I needed to seek some alternative treatments while I waited for this appointment. I tried acupuncture, I tried naturopathy. I did both of these things for a few weeks because I figure if they can treat things like asthma or cure people from smoking or treat gluten intolerance, maybe they can fix my dizziness problems. Well, it wasn't true. After a few weeks, nothing was helping. But finally, my appointment with the ear, nose, and throat doctor rolled around. I went to her. She did a series of tests on me, including an MRI. And that's when things really started to get interesting. She noticed in the MRI that there's a tiny bony canal in the ear canal called the vestibular aqueduct, and it controls your balance. It was unusually large, and it was so large that it showed up on the MRI. Normally it doesn't. And this can cause balance problems, dizziness, and hearing loss. And I had experienced all three of these things. I thought, wow, I finally have an explanation for what's wrong with me, and this makes a little bit of sense. But then the question remained, how can I fix this? And she said, unfortunately, there isn't a cure for this, but you can seek treatment through physical therapy. Physical therapy, I hadn't even tried that before. I'm willing to try that, let's do it. I went to the physical therapist and she said, okay, our job is going to be to retrain your brain to talk differently in new ways to your vestibular system, again, which controls balance, and to your vision. I thought, okay, I don't really understand how that's supposed to work, but let's give it a shot. She gave me a series of exercises to do, and I'll give you some examples. One of them was to stand in a corner of a room and simply march in place, and then do it with my eyes closed. And you can imagine how challenging this is for somebody with balance issues. Another exercise she gave me was to stand on this platform that was electronically controlled, and it would tilt back and forth. And I had to stand on it while I was tilting without falling over, again, with my eyes closed. A third type of exercise she gave me involved a disco ball. I have to say, when I was 8 years old, I wrote in my diary, disco will never die. As it turns out, I was right. She had me stand in this completely dark room with the only light on, which was the disco ball, and it was spinning and spinning, and the lights were going all around the room. I had to focus on that disco ball while it was spinning, and it makes my eyes hurt just thinking about it right now, but that's what I had to do. That was one of the exercises. She gave me about 20 of these different types of seemingly simple exercises to do over the period of a few weeks. And over those few weeks, I did notice some incremental improvements, but the dizziness and the balance and the feeling of my head being disconnected from my body, those were all still there, but they were milder. June 2009, it was 6 months after I'd started feeling these symptoms, I went camping with my family, and we went on a hike. I had a very large walking stick, And I remember trudging up this mountain with my walking stick, just crying, tears streaming down my face. I'm never gonna get better. I'm gonna be dizzy for the rest of my life. This is really awful. And then I remembered what the physical therapist had told me, which was to focus on an object in the distance whenever you're walking forward. So that's what I did. I kept a very intentional focus on the mountain summit as I went up the mountain with my walking stick. And I really focused on this all day long. I was determined to make this problem go away. Would you believe what happened the next morning? I woke up in my tent and I was dizzy free. For the first time in 6 months, I woke up feeling like a normal human being again. I discovered a lot on this journey. I realized that my brain is so trainable and so smart that with the help of a few seemingly simple tools like marching in place and staring at a disco ball, my brain is capable of some pretty remarkable things. Thank you.
That was a very inspiring story. It takes a lot of courage and wildness to achieve something like that. Bravo. I will give you guys a couple of minutes to fill out evaluation for Linda. One recent news I would like to share that Hawaii has banned artificial sunscreen on their seashores. It has been affecting the sea life from a long time, and they have come to notice that there is one chemical that's called dioxide. I googled it, I did not find the name. So when you apply that, please click me. So when
I was.
yeah, thank you. So when you apply this sunscreen and go to the seashores, it affects the coral reefs. And coral reefs are really important for the sea life. They lay, when the fish or octopuses, when they lay eggs, it is supposed to stick on the coral reefs. But because of the sunscreen, because of these chemicals, the reefs are not able to stick these eggs, and all these eggs are getting washed away. And it is a historic, and I would say like really great news that they have banned artificial sunscreen, and they are recommending everyone to use the natural sunscreens, which are really good for our health. So whenever you go to any seashores, please make sure that you use natural sunscreens. Sorry. Let's move on to our next speech. And who is going to introduce our next speaker? Pat. Sorry.
Thank you, Newt. Today I have the pleasure of introducing Lauren Wilson, our club president. In our new Toastmasters Pathway program, this is Lauren's icebreaker speech for the Motivational Strategies Path. A few things about Lauren. Again, she's our club president. She's been a core member of this group since I've been a member of this club since late 2016. Great contributor. Some of the things that you can please look for in your evaluation today of Lauren's speech: balance, breadth, and spontaneity, identify and share general communication skills, and improve her self-confidence. Some personal goals Lauren has to talk about my Toastmasters path, plus work more clearly, to be somewhat entertaining, speak on the fly because she didn't prepare for the speech. So please welcome Lauren Wilson. Thanks.
How many of you are in jobs that you dreamed of for yourself when you were little? Anybody? We got one. Well, I'd say Linda thus is the envy of our generation, and the rest of us are really in the majority. The LinkedIn CEO once said that most people in this day and age change careers 15 times within a lifetime. And I think that's a big change from the past where people got one job and one pathway and sort of worked their way up. And now we see people continuously searching for that next big thing in the next area of fulfillment. And I'd say I'm definitely in this category where I'm on this winding path. I don't really know where it's going to take me, but it's been quite fabulous. And so today what I wanted to do is share a little bit about my winding path and how it has led me to what I find to be a quite fulfilling job and what I like about my job today. So we'll rewind back to when I was very little. If you had met little Lauren and asked her, what do you want to be when you grow up? I honestly can't tell you what she would say. I think she would probably have picked one of the classics like an astronaut, or maybe a veterinarian, or maybe because I grew up in the South, it could even be a stay-at-home mom. That was quite common. So I don't really know. I didn't have any idea. But luckily, I was saved by the liberal arts degree, where you can go to college and have no idea what you want to do, but test a lot of different avenues. So after a couple of years, I ended up deciding on Spanish and foreign affairs. When I graduated, my dad asked me, well, Lauren, what are you going to go do? And I said, Dad, I'm going to speak Spanish and save the world. And he gives me, okay, kind of like a nervous laugh. Are you sure? Like, how is she going to make it? I just don't know. And frankly, I didn't know either. But I moved to DC, said, you know what, I'm going to find a job where I can speak Spanish and save the world. And sure enough, I found something pretty close to it. I was a program manager at an international development firm. These are firms that are paid by the US government to go to foreign countries and help those countries tackle some of their biggest problems, or quote unquote, develop. And so my portfolio included things like civil discourse in Venezuela, civil military training in Ghana and Nigeria, and helping countries develop civil services for their citizens. And this is how I found myself in a place called Malabo, Equatorial Guinea. It's the one Spanish-speaking country in the world. And probably a year before I went there, I couldn't have even pointed it out on a map. But I find myself here, and I was working in an office. I managed 7 local staff and about 13 consultants that came in from Latin America. So I was having a great time. I got to speak Spanish, and I was helping their government set up what's called a social needs fund, which was basically a transparent way for them to use their government money and give it off to their citizens in basic services like schools, trash pickup, those sorts of things, which had been a problem in that country. What I didn't like so much was that you were in constant fear of getting arrested for no reason because the president was afraid of coups. And I couldn't quite tell if we were making that big a difference because the head of this social needs fund once showed up in a new Mercedes-Benz and we didn't quite know where he got the money from. So I was a little disillusioned as well. But one night I find myself doing the one exercise that was available to me, which was running up and down the 7 flights of stairs at the hotel. Because you couldn't go running at night by yourself. So I'm running up and down the stairs, and all of a sudden I just have this moment like, what the heck am I doing? Why am I here? I'm speaking Spanish, but I don't think I'm really saving the world. I don't know, I just realized this wasn't quite the path that I wanted to take. So like many people in their 20s who don't know what to do, I went back to school. And I decided to go to Columbia in New York City, which ironically, New York City scared me more than Malabo, Equatorial Guinea for some odd reason. But I survived, and graduate school was lovely, and I had a great experience where I did a capstone project on corporate sustainability. And through that, we started interviewing companies around the US about their corporate sustainability goals. And the one thing that came out of that was this focus on energy. Everybody was wondering, how do we manage energy? How do we conserve energy? How do we get better energy, cleaner energy? And that really stuck with me. So after grad school, I took that with me and I decided to make the monumental leap to Denver. Partially because of the energy policy scene, but also partially because there's a little thing called mountains just down the road. And now, one thing led to another. I started as a hostess, and now I'm an environmental policy manager at Xcel Energy, which perhaps I didn't know starting out, but this has turned out to be somewhat of a dream job. So what does an environmental policy manager do? One, we assess policies at the state and federal level that might impact our company, Xcel Energy. We then develop corporate positions on how we want to manage that as a company. And third, we take that position out into the world and try to influence policymakers and others to pursue positive environmental policies. The reason I love this job so much is that it's meaningful. I get to work on things like carbon policy, where while there is no carbon policy in the US, companies are out there making a difference. And Xcel Energy has reduced our emissions 35% since 2005 with a goal to reduce it by 60%. And I get to be a part of that. It's also challenging. We get to work on complex issues that don't have a clear solution. One of the things I'm working on now is what is the role of natural gas into the future? Some people will have us stop doing any fossil fuels, while many others see the value in natural gas in providing important energy to our customers. And lastly, it's different every day. So one day I might be in the office working on an Excel spreadsheet to analyze a policy, and the next day I might be out talking to a policymaker or industry leader. So I've really come to love my job at Xcel Energy. And so my message to you is whether your path is winding or straight, make sure you trust it and enjoy every minute, because it will take you to exactly where you're supposed to be, whether you had the foresight to dream it or not. Thank you.
Thank you, Lauren. I'll give you guys a couple of minutes to fill evaluations for Lauren. There are recent researches going on carbon dioxide, how to reduce that. So one recent study I noticed is like they have made ink out of the carbon. Like whenever you release the fogs from the cars, they capture it and you can make ink pens out of that. And in China they have installed machines that create carbon diamonds. So they are black in color, and people are getting crazy about that because it's diamond.
I agree with that.
Okay, we are running a little late, so we will start on our table topics. Pat, would you like to come in front and let's clap for Pat.
For those of you, for Vincent, Table Topics is a chance to speak off the cuff for 1 to 2 minutes. If you can do it on a question that I'll give you right in advance. Is there anybody that would like to start us off, please? Chris, come on up.
Just getting over a cold, I won't subject you to it.
Pick a number from 1 to 7.
4.
4. What do you enjoy most about being in Mother Nature? Chris, what do you enjoy most about being in Mother Nature?
That's such a difficult question because I think like many folks here, I moved here in part just so I could spend more time in Mother Nature, and I love doing many things out there. Some of them athletic, some of them completely lazy. But I think that, skewing the athletic pursuits, the thing that I like the most and probably do the least is sit in a wild place and just look around and listen. and think about what's going on in front of me. I realized the other day that I almost never do that. I read lots of books about various aspects of ecosystems or different species or things like that. And it's very rare that I just sit on my deck or go for a hike and sit down for 5-10 minutes and just look around, look at the creatures that are out there, see what critters are crossing my path. I think that's probably the closest that I'll get to appreciating what actually goes on a day-to-day, minute-to-minute, second-to-second basis in the wilderness. And that's an activity that I'd like to do more of. Thanks.
Anybody else? Go, Lisa. Lisa, come
We have
on.
time for one more? Okay.
Yep.
Hold on. Thank you. Hi.
1 to 7, but not 1.
2.
2. If you could build a garden with only 3 plants, which ones would you grow? Lisa, if you could build a garden with only 3 plants, which ones would you grow?
If I could build a garden with only 3 plants, first I would grow weed. Not because I smoke weed, but I can make money on it. It sustained me for a while. Second thing I would grow is cilantro. I love cilantro. With that means I'd have to grow tomatoes. And here in Colorado, tomatoes are crazy. They grow everywhere. How many varieties of tomatoes are there? At least like 150 varieties of tomatoes? It's crazy. My aunt and uncle have them, and they rise up along the side of their garage, and they're gigantic. And I don't know how long y'all have lived here, but how many times at the end of the season do people just try to pawn their tomatoes off to you? Tomatoes and zucchinis, and the zucchinis are about this big. They taste like crap. Like, who would even want that? I'd rather smoke weed than eat all those zucchinis. But if I could take tomatoes, nice, ripe, chop them up, add some cilantro, maybe a dash of weed, I'd be happy.
A dash of.
I thought you said wheat. I'm a little slow.
Anybody else?
Oh, yeah.
Lauren, come on. 1, 3, 5, 6,
3.
3. You're on the way to an important meeting and you get caught in the rain without an umbrella. What do you do? Lauren, you're on the way to a meeting, an important meeting, you get caught in a rainstorm without an umbrella. What do you do?
I think the appropriate answer to that is that you would dance in the rain. I mean, the song is the first thing that came to mind. And while I'm on the way to a professional meeting, I still think sometimes you gotta, get your energy up and have a good time. And so I would I'd have to get some music. Perhaps I get lucky and that random guy that sometimes walks by with a boombox would be there. And so I'd have some music to dance to. But otherwise, I guess I could turn it on. And I also, just the other day, I walked out and it was raining on Monday. And it's such a rare occurrence, it feels like, in Denver to be stuck in the rain. And so I think that is a thing to actually enjoy and be happy about, because it's not only so rare, but it is Mother Earth bringing us a lot of the water that we didn't get over the winter. In conclusion, I think everybody should try to dance a little bit in the rain, bring joy to yourself, and also to help you be more enthusiastic in your professional life. Thank you.
Great.
Thank you, Pat. And yes, we should always try that wildness. But make sure that you keep your mobile phones in secure place before. Let's move on to our evaluations today. So I would like to welcome Nikki for evaluating Linda. Thank you.
All right, Linda, your speech was, you made it really hard to find critiques. To put it out there, it was really hard for me to find those. Your project goal was to focus on how you were saying something and put emphasis on your words to paint a vivid picture. And I thought your subject and your title was perfect for this. You chose a great subject and you really emphasized it all the way throughout with your gestures, whether it's climbing a mountain or if it was doing a balancing act with your eyes closed. All of those were perfect and they really emphasized your point, and you drew vivid pictures for us. Actually, physically, we saw it there. Your hand gestures were on point, whether it was giving your, actually standing there and showing us what you're doing or just talking with your hands. That was great. It was one of your goals. And you didn't use any filler words that I noticed. I was trying to find that and I couldn't see any. And I really noticed that instead of using a filler word, you paused. And then you moved to the next thing. And I find that the hardest thing. I always try to fill that time with the word, and you were spot on with that. Just using that pause was really great. I had to really dig for these critiques. The only minor ones I could find were at one point or a few points you look back at the screen and your voice kind of trails off when you look back. But that was just a couple of times. And then one of your goals was vocal variety. And I think it was not bad at all. I thought it was actually really good. The only thing that could have maybe made it a little better is to have the microphone. But again, it's really hard when you're doing hand gestures to have that going. Let's see. I think really, altogether, your speech was awesome. I thought the subject was great, and you had us going along your story, and you painted it with the use of rhetorical devices, and I actually forgot your analogy at the beginning with that crazy ride was spot on. That helped us lead into this whole thing. And my ending was my favorite, because Mother Nature, it really tied into his thing here. I don't know if he did that on purpose or not, but it was perfect because we all need to get outside and Mother Nature does cure all. Thank you.
Thank you, Nikki. Let's welcome Pat for evaluating Lauren.
Lauren, great speech, especially not preparing at all before coming to the meeting. So many things I want to talk about. I thought you did a great job with this. Again, even given the chance that you essentially didn't prepare until you got here, I thought it was a great speech overall. I like the fact that you used the question at the beginning to get us engaged. You gauged the audience response and helped work on, I'm sure, the content after that. I thought that helped. The quote by Reid Hoffman helped give us some context too. I apologize for not mentioning the title of the speech. That probably would have helped the evaluations a good bit. The title was My Wandering Path to a Fulfilling Job. Should have mentioned that, that would have helped, but it was a great segue into the topic of your speech. One of your objectives was to be funny. I thought you did a great job with that. I liked how you used the different stances when talking about your conversations with your father and how you're going to use your liberal arts degree. I thought the line about moving to New York City would be harder than being in Guinea. I thought that was very funny as well. I thought you did a great job with the topics with the speech. I thought were good in terms of the supporting points and how you brought in details about those supporting points that tied in with the title and theme of your speech. Like the call of action to the end that we should all do something that we can try and enjoy about our career and make sure we're on the right path. A couple of things that I could try and think that you might work on and try and incorporate in the future. Again, I thought you did a great job with moving around a little bit, eye contact with the audience. Maybe try and use pauses a little bit more on transitions between important points, and maybe a little bit more of vocal variety in terms of emphasizing points on trying to use humor in the speech. I thought it was funny on its own, so you could just let the audience laugh for a little bit and pause while they enjoyed that and smile back at us to encourage us to laugh. But overall, I think a great speech, especially given the fact that you didn't prepare before coming to the meeting. Thought it was very well delivered. Again, great eye contact, and we'll look forward to your motivational strategies path in that place. Thanks.
Let's move on to our timers report. And also the report. Oh, okay, you're, sorry.
Yes.
Yeah,
Timer report.
yeah, timers report.
Everybody qualified. Linda was at 6:45. Lauren was at 6:50. Table topics, I'm sure everybody qualified. If you would pull up the ballot on the bottom of your sheet and fill that out. We have table topics. Chris talked about getting the great outdoors. Lisa talked about growing lead. Lauren talked about walking in the rain. Nikki was the evaluator for Linda, and I was the evaluator for Lauren. If you could fill out those ballots and pass them to me, I will tabulate them and give you a report at the end of the week.
For table topics, Lisa, Chris, and Lauren. For speeches, Lauren and Linda. And evaluation, Nikki and Pat. Oh, everybody has already done their job. It's so silent today, like,
I know, it's tiny,
it's like, I feel like we need to bring in some more crowd. Okay, let's hear the report from the grammarian and the accountant.
Yes, I
Yeah,
know.
you have played well.
Let's first start with the grammarian report. The word of the day still is wildness. We had one use of wildness. Nikki, thank you so much. Very nice. Chris, sort of you used wild, which we'll take that. Thank you.
4.5.
4.5. A couple of uses I noted of the English language, basically vocabulary, that I enjoyed that seemed appropriate. Segue, love that. Nikki used vivid and painted. Both of those sort of go together, but you use them at different ends of the evaluation. Nicely done. Lauren, you said complex issues with no clear solutions. You probably say that every day of your life, but I love how it resonated with me. It sort of put into perspective the challenges of your job. Very, very impressive. You also used disillusioned. I can't remember the context, so I was going to write it down, but I did. Two words I noticed that were stated incorrectly, I think, was jargon. I think you said jargon or jargon. And then naturopathy, it's naturopathy. It's a little, that is it for that.
I used wildness 2 times.
Yeah, I knew you did.
No!
Yes.
I was busy focusing on everything, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Good job, Anu, thank you for doing it. 3.5.
Oh, thank you.
Next, as counter, we have a total of 11 ums, ahs, or ers. I didn't count wells, I don't think we had any. So's, we had a total of 3. Like you knows, we had 1. No double clutches that I noticed. One of the things I did notice, and I didn't click on all of them, and we had a lot of them, over 10, is ands, and so's, and like. That seemed a little distracting and carried on into like compound sentences that sort of didn't make a clear statement. So work on those. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Lisa. Let's welcome Chris for his general evaluator report.
Yeah, thanks. Everybody hear me okay? I want to compliment Anoop on running a great meeting today. It was difficult for a couple of reasons, I think. One, somebody else was scheduled to be Toastmaster today. She had to bow out, I think, for work reasons. So Anoop volunteered a few days ago, didn't have as much time as he normally would to prepare, and I think he did a great job, especially since a lot of people didn't show up today. For our guest, this is a pretty small meeting, and we had a few people who were signed up for roles that didn't show up. And so Anoop adapted and found people to fill those roles. Thank you, Lisa. And I want to compliment him on that. I think you ran a great meeting. You picked a good topic, one I think most people can relate to. And it certainly was one that spawned some great table topics and some good discussion at the beginning of the meeting. So I think you did a great job. You know, one piece of advice, at the beginning of the meeting, you maybe stumbled a little bit to get going, to figure out, what you were going to talk about or where your words would be. It seemed to me that once you got going, you executed flawlessly. So my guess is if you just took a second to just pause, look at your notes, figure out your start spot. Some advice that I got one time is choose your first sentence or first two sentences that you're going to say. Think about that, and once you get those first couple sentences out, the rest of it just rolls off. I think you might want to try that next time because you paused a little bit in the beginning, but once you got going, you were absolutely in control of the meeting the whole time. So I think you did a wonderful job. Now to the evaluators, because I don't want us to run late. I want to compliment you on starting on time as well, especially since I think we were all still arriving. Nikki and Pat, I want to compliment you guys on your introductions. This is something that I think a lot of us don't do very well because we often will get the introductory materials from the person that we're supposed to evaluate, right before we're giving the evaluation, so we're kind of just looking down, reading off the sheet. Both of you guys did a great job. You stepped outside the podium, you had notes, which you looked at, but you used them effectively, and I think that really works. It's okay to look down at the note and read one or two things and then look up, maintain eye contact, and say what you would have just read. I think you guys both did a great job of that and made eye contact with the folks that you were evaluating as well, which I think is important. As for your evaluations, there's some overlap in my feedback, but I'll start with Nikki. I think you did a great job of, again, coming out from behind the podium. Actually, I think it's a lectern, so I'm going to correct myself. I think it's a lectern.
You're right, yeah.
Anyway, thank you.
Definitely a lawyer.
You got out from behind the lectern, used the microphone very effectively. And one of the reasons I'm not using it right now is because I'm terrible at it. I've always got it over here, I'm moving my arms or something. You did exactly what you're supposed to do. You kept it about a foot from your chin, and you moved your other arm, and you directed your comments directly at Linda. And you would occasionally look down at your notes, but then you would look up and you would deliver your comments. You identified specific strengths and weaknesses, ended on a positive note, used the familiar sandwich method in your delivery, and I thought did a wonderful job. Pat, much the same feedback for you. You did a great job of taking up the microphone, stepping out from behind the lectern. You did stay within the zone here, which I think is good because I use it to look at my notes. One comment I'd make, and this is something I haven't seen you do in a little while, you relied on your notes a lot more than you normally do when giving an evaluation. I think it's important to maintain some eye contact with the person that you're evaluating, and I think that I've seen you do that a lot in the past. I didn't see you do it as much this time. But your comments were very effective. You identified specific strengths and weaknesses, some room for improvement, which I think is difficult. We had two great speeches today. I don't think I gave either one of them constructive criticism in my notes, and so you guys did a great job of identifying those things. So overall, great job, guys.
Next, please. Let's move on to our vote counters. So,
Best speaker was very close with his Linda and notes. Best table topic, Lisa. Best evaluator was Nikki.
do we have any announcements?
I will just announce that next week we will be doing our elections for the officers for next year. We switch over in July, and think we have everyone set, but if you are interested, you can still let me know. We'll be on next week. Anything else?
Oh, we're on the 5th floor next week? Next 2 weeks?
Yeah, on 5th floor. Right? Let's hear from Winston. How do you feel about our meeting today?
Yeah, I'm sorry, can you repeat the
Like, what did you feel about our meeting today?
augmented? Oh, our meeting, I apologize, I'm a little clogged up. Yeah, no, it was very interesting. I'm very thankful for the opportunity to come here and see how everything goes. It's very cool because you guys, are very constructive in how you help out each other, but it's not like nobody's holding back because everyone in here seems like they have a good energy with each other, so any criticism that does come, it's a lot of just positive construction, which is important for an environment. And yeah, no, it's definitely something I'd like to keep attending, and I'm thankful I got to have the opportunity to come here today and sit in.
You are welcome to come as many times you want. And we have 4 minutes, so let's talk about something.
Let's talk about something.
So here is one thing that I noticed, like everybody here likes to go to the restaurants, and that is why the people here, like in USA, I've specifically seen the fast food restaurant chains are very popular. One bad thing I really don't like about this is like you go there and everybody serves the plastic silverwares, and it contributes to a lot of landfills, and US alone is responsible for 6 million tons every year of landfill. So last time in our table topics there was a question, what's in your bag? I would suggest, like, in my bag I carry up my lunch box, a couple of spoons, my water bottle, so that I can avoid these landfills. So here is a suggestion, like how we can reduce the landfills, and specifically straw means we can drink it from the glass. So I don't know what to say. I'm a little nervous today because there are so many things going and I have to catch the train at 1:37. So any comments or any suggestions?
I'll add a little bit to that. I was really set on that for a while, like all of even the packaging that they give you when you go through the window. And I used to ask to not have a bag and one napkin, no straw. They do not know what to do. But you have to have a bag. Why? It's a strange phenomenon.
Yeah, it's very confusing for them, and it also takes some time for you to being habituated to tell them that I do not want the plastic silverwares. So when I go to the restaurant, the first thing I try to make sure that I tell them, like, water without straws, no plastic silverwares. That's how I'm trying to develop this habit. So here is how we can adapt to that. We have 2 more minutes. Let's use this 2 minutes. Any comments?
Yes. I get frustrated at the grocery store if I'm just going for a couple of items and I go through the self-checkout and I have forgotten to bring my own bag. And we have a whole collection of bags that we take to the grocery store for shopping, reusable bags. But if I forget,
Anything. So if you have ideas of what you'd like to see the city do, feel free to let me know.
Sure.
Would you shoot an email to the group and just? I think I would love to participate, but I want to remember.
Actually include that in my recap email.
Oh, good idea.
And one thing I would like to tell is in San Francisco, I think in California region, there is a store they just recently opened, and it does not, all the products that are sold there does not contain any kind of packaging. So you buy the vessels, I think the mason jars, you can purchase it from there, and if you return them, they just refund you. So they are completely going plastic-less. So that's a good way of adapting.
Cool.
Okay, so here is our time done and the meeting adjourns. Thank you.
also, England just banned straws.
Well,
I heard that.